Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari. Gopijana Balaba Girivanadari. Jasodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Jasodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Bibo! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Boom! Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Padiba Jakacharya Sakadasri Shaman's Divine Grace Abhaicharan Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Jagaguru Srila Prabhupada ki, Anantakota Vaishnavindi ki, Namachar Shri Haridas Thakur ki, Prem Shikaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar, Shiva Sadi Go Bhakti Vrindi. Shri Shri Radhaki. What is Shri Shri Radhi? Yeah. Shamakunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan ki, Vrindavan ki, Mathura Dham ki, Dwarka Dham ki, Navadip Dham ki, Jagannathpuri Dham ki, Jamuna Mai ki, Ganga Mai ki, Tulsi Maharani ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Samveda Bhakti Vindi ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Shri Shri Radha Giri Radha ki, Shri Krishna Sankirtana Jaga ki, Go Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the divine lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. I need to use the Bhagavatam. Can you grab for me for a minute? Do we have an extra one to read, or we take Prabhupada's?
No, we have the one that they used to write the verses.
Ah, very good. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Thank you. Krishna Sadamo Bhagate Dharmagyanadi Bisaha Kalanda Satishamesha Paronarko Nodita Narayana Namaskricha Naram Chaivam Darotama Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. Before beginning our study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, we should first offer our respects to the personality of Godhead, Narayan, the Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, and the goddess of Learning Mother Saraswati, and my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. Did we say before beginning our study, did we say that, no, Krishna Swadamo Bhagate? All right. So we are on yesterday's verse. We ended it on 36. And today, there's a number of verses that do not have a purport. So we're going to read up to verse 36. No, that's not. 43. Yeah, verse 43. Sorry about that. So 37, the English is, all living entities, moving and non-moving, receive their vital force, their bodily strength, and their very lives from the air. All of us follow the air for our vital force, exactly as servants follow an emperor. The vital force of the air is generated from the original vital force of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. May that Supreme Lord be pleased with us. 38. May the supremely powerful Personality of Godhead be pleased with us. The different directions are generated from his ears, the holes of his body come from his heart, and the vital force, the senses, the mind, the air within the body, and the ether, which is the shelter of the body, come from his navel. 39. Mahendra, the king of heaven, was generated from the prowess of the Lord. The demigods are generated from the mercy of the Lord. Lord Shiva was generated from the anger of the Lord, and Lord Brahma from his, meaning Krishna's, sober intelligence. The Vedic mantras were generated from the bodily wholes of the Lord, and the great saints and Prajapatis were generated from his genitals. May that supremely powerful Lord be pleased with us. And 40, the goddess of fortune was generated from his chest, the inhabitants of Prithvi Loka from his shadow, the religion from his bosom, and irreligion, the opposite of religion, from his back. The heavenly planets were generated from the top of his head, and the apsaras from his sense enjoyment. May that supremely powerful personality of Godhead be pleased with us. And 41, the Brahmanas and Vedic knowledge come from the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Kshatriyas and bodily strength from his arms, the Vaishyas and their expert knowledge and product. Where was I? Yeah. Oh, from his arms. Okay. The Vaishyas and their expert knowledge of productivity and wealth come from his thighs. And the Sudras, who are outside the Vedic knowledge, come from his feet. May that Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is full in all prowess, be pleased with us. Now 42, greed is generated from his lower lip, affection from his other lip, bodily luster from his nose, animalistic lusty desires from his sense of touch, Yamaraj from his eyebrows, and eternal time from his eyelashes. May that Supreme Lord be pleased with us. So now text 43. Dravyam vaya karma gunan vishesham yad yogamaya vihitan vedanti yad durvi bhavyam prabhuda pabadham prasiddhatam na sa maha vibhuti. Hold on a sec here. Dravyam vayam karma guna vishesham. That's a little different tune. Yeah, that's the one. Dravyam vayam karma gunan vishesham. Yad yoga maya vihitan vidanti. Yad durvibhavyam prabhubad hapalayam padam. Prasiddhitam na samahat vibhuti. Dravyam vaya karma gunan visesham. Yad yoga maya vihitan vadanti. Yad durvibhavyam prabhuda papadam. Prasiddhitam na samahat vibhuti. Dravyam vaya karma gunan visesham. Yad yoga maya vihitan vidanti. Yad durvibhavyam prabhuda. Hare Krishna. I can't see. My eyes are bouncing around. Krishna. Say that third line. Prasid. Oh, go ahead. Prasiditam nasamaha vibhutihi. Take it away. Dravyam vayam karma gunan visesham. Yad yoga maya vivitam. Yadur vibhavyam prabhudadati. Prasiditam na samaha vibhuti. Don't be shy now. Dravyam vaya karma gunana visesham. Yad yoga maya vihitan vedanti. Yad ruvayam prasiditam dravyam vayam karma visesham. Yad yoga maya vihitan vedanti. Yadruvi bayam vadadapadam. Prasiditam rasa. Vaishnavis. Dravyam vyayam karma gunanasham. Yad yoga maya vihitan vedanti. Yadruvi bhavyam vadadam. Prasidita na samaha vibhuti. Dravyam vaya karma gunana vasham. Yad yoga maya vihitan vidanti. Yadruvi bhayam prabhupada. Prasiditam na samaha. Dravyam. The five elements of the material world. Vaya, time. Karma, fruit of activities. Gunan, the three modes of material nature. Visesham, the varieties caused by the combination of the 23 elements. Yat, that which, Yogamaya, by the Lord's creative potency, Vihitan, all done, Vedanti, all learned men say, Yadur Vibhavyam, which is actually extremely difficult to understand. Prabhuda Abhipadam, rejected by the learned, by those who are fully aware. Prasiditam, may be pleased, na, upon us, sa, he, Mahavibhuti, the controller of everything. Translation. All learned men say that the 5 elements, eternal time, fruitive activities, the 3 modes of material nature, and the varieties produced by these modes are all creations of Yogamaya. This material world is therefore extremely difficult to understand, but those who are highly learned have rejected it. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the controller of everything, be pleased with us. All say, you say. All learned men say that the 5 elements, eternal time, fruitive activities, the 3 modes of material nature, and the varieties produced by these modes are all creations of Yogamaya. This material world is therefore extremely difficult to understand. But those who are highly learned have rejected it. May the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the controller of everything, be pleased with us. Purport. The word Druvibhavyam is very important in this verse. No one can understand how everything is happening in the material world by arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead through his material energies. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 9:10, Mayadakshena Prakriti Sugite Satcharacharam. Everything is actually happening under the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This much we can learn, but how it is happening is extremely difficult to understand. We cannot even understand how the affairs within our body are systematically taking place. The body is a small universe, and since we cannot understand how things are happening in this small universe, how can we understand the affairs of the bigger universe? Actually, this universe is very difficult to understand. Yet learned sages have advised, as Krishna has also advised, that this material world is dukkhalayam yasashvatam. In other words, this is a place of misery and temporality. One must give up this world and go back home, back to Godhead. Materialists may argue, quote, if this material world and its affairs are impossible to understand, how can we reject it? There may be something we missed, or maybe we just don't understand. And, maybe it'll all work out fine. And there's a big prize at the end. So that's what they're thinking. The answer is provided by the word, which I can't see. Somehow or other, can you say that word? Because my eyesight is off this morning. Okay. We have to reject this material world because it is rejected by those who are learned. Learned in Vedic knowledge. Even though we cannot understand what this material world is, we should be ready to reject it in accordance with the advice of learned persons, especially the advice of Krishna. Krishna says, Mam apetya punarjanma dukhalayam ashashvitam na nuvanti mahatmana samsiddhi paramam gata. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this material world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. It's Bhagavad Gita 8:15. One has to return home back to Godhead, for that is the highest perfection of life. Oh, Krishna. To go back to Godhead means to reject this material world. The two go hand in hand. although we cannot understand the functions of this material world and whether it is good for us or bad for us, we can't understand which one. In accordance with the advice of the Supreme Authority, we must reject it and go back home, back to Godhead. Om Ganata Barandasya Gana Gana Sakaya Jakshushan Militan Gena Tasana Shri Gurave Namaha. Who remembers what's going on right now in this storyline? Other than Dravida, who remembers? Birachandra, you remember what's going on right now? What? No, we don't need to go through all that. Just let's move. So what's going on?
Demigods assembled with Brahma and they pray to Vishnu.
And why have they assembled there?
They was defeated by demons, and so this.
Okay, very good. Now, other than you, who knows why were the demigods defeated? Anybody else know? And don't worry about the mic, just say it. Anybody know? Yeah, go ahead, Govardhan.
They offended sage by throwing Indra, gave the garland to his elephant, and the elephant crushed it.
Yeah, he gave his, an auspicious blessing, gave him his garland, Brihaspati. I think it's Brihaspati. No, it's Durvasa Muni. It was I will look and see. Starts with the D, but I forget which one. I think Durvasa Muni, because he's easily angered. So, and why did he do that? Why did he? Because he's puffed up. Indra's thinking, and what is this guy? And he gave it to his elephant, which was even more of an affront. And his elephant, being a dumb animal, although smarter than us, threw it under and stomped on it. So it was a big offense, so he cursed him. One point is that although we think even the pauper is proud of his penny, Prabhupada says, and we're not on the level of Lord Indra, we're not even on the level of Lord Indra's elephant, far from it actually, but everybody's puffed up. So in this series of verses, it's meant to humble us. If we're not humble, we can't learn. In Bhagavad Gita, when it talks about knowledge, the first thing Krishna says, the foundation of knowledge, the foundation of wisdom, the first criteria is humility. So everybody, even though we can't figure out this world, if you read all of these, how are these great sages coming from the Lord's genitals? What does it mean that time comes from his eyelashes? What's that all about? And as Prabhupada points out, we can't even understand how our hair is growing or how we're digesting our food. So I was talking with a girl at the Krishna Lounge who is working on her PhD. Actually, she had the quality. Anyway, I'll say it. So she was saying, I don't understand how everything. Do you really believe that there's Krishna who everything comes from? And I don't understand how everything can come from one person eternally. Okay? I've heard this question. You probably heard this question. But let me ask you this question. When did I can't understand become the criteria? You follow? I remember that my father, it was take your child to work day. They used to do that. And my father took me to work. Now, we had a long driveway from our house. It went down a long, long driveway. And I was fond of my father. I used to see my father off. And he'd drive down this long driveway. I'd wave. He'd get to the end of the driveway. Beep, beep. He'd honk his horn. And he'd turn right. Now, I walked to my school, my elementary school, and I walked down the long driveway. I turned right, and I knew I went down 2 blocks to Judge Parker's house. Then I used to turn, and I used to walk about 4 more blocks, which when you're about this big, seems like an eternity. But I remember walking, and then I knew where my little school was. And I knew if I had my bike, I could go another 4 or 5 blocks to Cal Oaks drugstore, where they sold candy and soda and potato chips. So that was and I knew where my friend John Dewar lived around the corner. His father, I knew, I had my little world. But when my father turned right, he just fell off the map. I didn't know what happened. So he took me to work. And all of a sudden, we drove, and I didn't know where we were. And we got on a freeway, and we went through some tunnels, and then we popped out, and there was that iconic, the LA City Hall, And he took me up to his office. We went up a huge elevator. I was 6 years old. I didn't know what was it. We looked out the windows. I could see all the way to Santa Monica. I thought, wow. There's a whole new world opened up. Blew my mind. So, I don't understand. Well, so what? Who are you? So when we read about how everything is resting on the Supreme Lord, it's meant to blow our minds. It's meant to, because it does. Well, how do we understand it? And okay, so first off, as it's described here, I'm going to understand everything? Why? Who are you? Again, as Prabhupada says, you don't even know the universe of your own body. What to speak of the mega universe. And then you're going to figure it all out. You're going to understand all the component parts. Then you're going to figure out how it all fits together. Then you're going to figure out how to control it. We're masters of the universe. And then we're going to figure out how to steer it in such a way that it pleases us and we transcend time. There's no death. Good luck. Okay? Then let's flip it a little further. Well, and you're going to figure out what it's all for? Like Prabhupada says, whether it's good or whether it's bad. How many lifetimes they say that we stand on the shoulders of giants? In other words, you'll never understand everything in one generation. But it's cumulative. That's what they say. That, okay, well, previously we were all aborigines or cavemen. And then, we figured out a few things. What is it? Is it Newton? With the apple falling, what goes up must come down. He figures out some basic physics. Then you come along and you fast forward, you got Einstein and relativity, and zit, And so every generation we learn more. And in this way, eventually, we'll figure everything out. It's cumulative. So they concede, well, I can't figure it out all by myself. You know, I remember walking in Berkeley, at the UC Berkeley, and there were so many departments. You know, that there's, you know, a portion of a portion of a portion of a portion. That's all you really understand. You're a specialist. Prabhupada's joke, which I think I've told before, probably, but I'm going to tell it again. A man, I heard Prabhupada tell this. Two men are riding on a train in India. And in those days, the trains in India were coal burning. So there's a lot of soot. I mean, if you, because I was a householder in those days, I used to ride trains in India all the time. If you wore a white dhoti, if you went a distance, say from Mumbai to Delhi or from Delhi to Calcutta, your dhoti, you'd wash it, and the rinse water would be almost black. It'd be gray, that's for sure, because all the coal would blow in the wind. Okay, fine. So the two guys shut the window because they don't want to, get all the ash. But in India, the fans never work, the AC never works, it's freezing, it's blazing hot. So they open the window, and one of the guys gets a cinder in his eye. So, you get something in your eye, it's very painful. So his friend goes looking for a doctor. Is there a doctor in the house? Is there a doctor in the house? He goes through all the different compartments. They get to the very end, and there's a group of doctors going to a convention. Problem solved? Not quite. This one's a cardiologist, the next one's a nephrologist, the next one's a, whatever it is, there's so many. Finally, he finds an ophthalmologist, an eye doctor. Fantastic, problem solved. You think. He brings the doctor, this is Prabhupada's joke. You bring the doctor up, the ophthalmologist, the eye doctor, and he looks at the man with the cinder in his eye and says, it's in the left eye. I'm a right eye specialist. So the point is that it's so, how are you going to figure everything out? And how are you going to understand how it all fits together? And how are you going to figure out whether it's good or whether it's bad? You'll never do it. It is so complicated. So what do we do? Does that mean that's it? And we just make the best of a bad bargain, or hope that it all works out, or that maybe in the future they'll understand? What do we do? What does this verse say? What does it, I know what it says. You know what it says. What is the conclusion? What do we do in this world? From our point of humility. Anyone want to guess? Exactly so. As it says here, you hear from Shastra, you hear from the sages, but that requires some humility. I remember I asked a devotee one time, I said, how did you become a devotee? His name was Durlab. He said, I became a self-realized fool. He realized that he was never going to figure it out. It's too complicated, and he's never going to come to the right conclusion. So what is it? It's a shortcut. Why not take the shortcut? There are those who do know. Hear from those who actually know. And just follow. It's one of the most difficult things in this world. Everybody wants to jigger with things. To just, I'm trying to think of to just, who was I talking to yesterday? I can't remember. If we follow, suppose you're making a cake, okay? And there you are, and Trijamani likes to cook. And suppose he's seen his mother make a nice cake, so he's going to try it, make it for Krishna. But he can't find the whole white flour. So he says, I'll use gram flour. And he can't find sugar, but he says, well, I'll try honey. It's sweet, one's sweet, the other's sweet. He can't find soda, baking soda, but he thinks, hey, I'll try salt. Why not? It's a grain, it's a granule. So in this way, who wants to have a slice of Dvijamani's cake? Actually, you have to have it in a cup, because it doesn't even, what's the solution? You just follow the recipe. You got to follow the recipe. So Krishna says, take this jaga and be satisfied, please the demigods, and everything will work out. I was saying and it's a fact, in this little garden that we have here, there's something that blooms because things come into season and out of season, right? They do. They don't all bloom at one time. And I've found out, Krishna is so expert that there's always something nice that's coming in the season. So there's always 12 months out of the year. There's always something nice. When nothing else blooms, you've got the camellias. When the camellias are done, you got the daffodils come. In this way, it's not. So if you Krishna's arranged everything. It's describing its humility again. That actually we're thinking we're Lord Indra, and did we ever find who the sage is? Durvasa, I think it's Durvasa. Did we ever figure out who it's, If we just become humble and follow Krishna's, ask the person who made it, and we'll be successful and peaceful. But what is the ultimate conclusion that we'll never figure out? People, why? Prabhupada said he was walking in Shevet Hills, that park above the LA Temple. And you can hear it on the tape. He's with Brihaspati. Now, what's his? Not Brisakapi. Who's our guy, the Shakespearean? Prajapati. So he's on the morning walk, and he says to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, usually when you get out of the car, we go clockwise around the park. But today you went counterclockwise. And he says, and I say, Srila Prabhupada, when we see the objects in the park from a different angle of vision, usually they're going clockwise, now they're going counterclockwise. He said, it looks like a brand new park. And Prabhupada just busts up. You hear it? He's like a belly laugh. He's really, he says, this is material life. It's the same thing. All it is eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. That's all it is. But we do it as a hog, we do it as a lizard, we do it on Park Avenue, we do it in Rockefeller, who had a big apartment. He was a big guy. The Rockefeller Company. Huh? He had a motorized bed, which you could drive around. And it had a mink stole bedspread. Dead animal, but And he would drive in his motorized bed over to the refrigerator, get something out of the fridge, then drive back, But, whether you're sleeping on the park bench or sleeping on a motorized bed, what's the difference when you're asleep? You don't know any, you're asleep. You still have a bad dream. So my point being that all we're doing is eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. But every time it's in a different body or a different circumstance, and we think, oh, it's brand new. And this way we're going lifetime. Prabhupada tells the example of the, how does it go? There was a, and we'll end at this point, there was a man saw a beautiful prostitute, a courtesan, you know, and he wanted her, but he was a poor man. So he was lamenting. And his wife asked him, you know, he was morose, what's the problem? Prabhupada said the man was so shameless that he said, why? He said, I want this prostitute. She was a simple, humble person. She went to the prostitute's house and cleaned, cooked, you know, whatever, offered humble service. And the lady said, the prostitute, you know, who are you and why are you doing this? And the wife said, you know, my husband wants you. We have no money. I'm hoping to satisfy you and you'll... She said, your husband's a fool, but you're nice. I'll help you. Tell him to come tonight. So the man with his flowers have power. He's got a box of candy. Flowers have powers. Candy is dandy, but liquor is quicker. That's what they used to say in the Navy. So he goes to see her. And she says, okay, you know. And she says, no, there's an art to these things. This is Prabhupada's story. There's an art to these. You know, we'll have a nice meal. We'll listen to some music. So they're having their meal, multi-course. First course comes out in a gold pot, an iron pot, and a silver pot. Okay, it's interesting. Same prep, 3 different types of pots. Next preparation comes, next course, it's in a gold pot, it's a silver pot, and an iron pot. Next one comes, you know, you got the picture. Same prep, 3 different pots. They finish up with their dessert, whatever it is, and the prostitute says, all right, let's have at it, you know. And the guy says, you know, but I got one question. Why did everything come, each prep, in 3 different pots? The prostitute said, you fool, go home. Does anyone know the lesson that the man actually figured out, other than Dravida? Anyone know? Same prep, 3 different pots, based on the theme we've been talking about. Anyone know what happened? Why she told him, go home? Because sex is the same thing. It's that whether you do it with this woman or this man or that, it's the same basic experience. It just looks a little different. It's in a different pot. It's in a different container. And in this way, whether we're sleeping on the park bench or in Park Avenue, whether we're having sex with a prostitute or whether we're having it with our own wife or, you know, whatever it is, eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. That's all it is. It's a jumble of different forms in different ways in the same experience. So just be satisfied with your wife. You're not getting anything different here. So in this way, we're going body after body after body, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. But Krishna says all of it has suffering. I was sitting next to Ambarish, Alfred Ford, one time. And it was at a fundraiser for the Robin George case. And whoever was speaking, some devotee was speaking, and he said that money can't buy happiness. And Ambarish turned to me and he said, those who don't have money hope that that's true. Because if you need money to be happy and you don't have money, well, then you're up a creek without a paddle. Now, but then he said, so if you think those who, money can't buy happiness. And then Ambarish says, those who, people who don't have money hope that that's true. Then he said, but people who have money know that it's true. Ambarish, one of his friends was the DuPont, someone in the DuPont family, DuPont paint, chemicals, so many things. So their parents would go traveling for 2 months in Europe, or they'd go, sailing down the Nile, and they'd leave the kids at home. They had so much money that the kids would just trash the house. Ambarish told me this. They'd have a party, they'd paint all over the walls, they'd, drive the car through the front door. I mean, they'd just trash the place. Then they'd redecorate it, spend all the money, The parents would come home and they say, we wanted to surprise you. We thought you got tired of the, early American. We decorated as Italian Renaissance. And the parents would say, oh, very nice, very nice. Thank you very much. So they had literally money to burn. The mother, I don't think Ambarish would mind, his own mother was completely an alcoholic, pickled to the gills. Ambarish said she'll never die. She's already full of formaldehyde, full of alcohol, She'll live forever. And they were miserable. They had, you talk to anyone who's famous and rich, very rich. So the simple point here is that we're never going to figure out this world. We're never going to get control of it. And even if you were able to, you're never going to understand how it works. And even if you were able to, it wouldn't make you happy. It's just chewing the chewed, as Prabhupada used to say. Therefore, stop speculating, listen to the sages, listen to the Shastra, and follow it, and go back to Godhead. That's how, only way you're going to be happy is getting out of here. So that's this verse, that's the background, and that's the purport. Thank you very much, Prabhus. Hare Krishna. Hey Govinda.